Hi, everyone. Welcome to another chapter of Menopause Supports. My name is Sinead McNamara. I'm the founder and co-director of the National Menopause Summit. And I'm absolutely delighted this afternoon to have the wonderful Dr. Tanya Mulcahy join me. And Tanya is the founder of Femtech here in Ireland and a director of the Health Innovation Hub of Ireland, and is one of our expert keynote speakers at the 2024 National Menopause Summit, which, in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know at this point, takes place on Thursday the 11th and Friday the 12th of April at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. And one just little note to everyone, just so you're aware, you only need a one-day ticket, guys, if you're interested in joining us, because we will be rolling out the same content across both days. So Tanya, how are you keeping? Lovely to chat with you this afternoon.
Great, Sinead, and delighted to be here again with you this year.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant because the whole femtech movement, which of course we're going to jump into now, is so incredibly important that we are thrilled to have obviously your contribution and all the amazing work that you're doing in that space. So Tanya, if I can just kick off firstly, just in relation to one of the more worrying, but again, not remotely surprising piece of data that we captured at our recent menopause survey with over 850 people respond to that. Yeah. So 76% of people said that their journey through perimenopause and menopause negatively impacted your overall quality of health. So what's your comment on that one?
Yeah, so okay, maybe just yes, I am one of those women, so it has definitely had the same impact on me, and I'm not surprised by that. For lots of different reasons. I think fundamentally comes down to knowing what's coming ahead. So education. I absolutely think that very few of us, I'm a biochemist, I mean, it shocked me to know what was going on in my body, and I should really have known what was going on. So to me, education is really important, and events like the Menopause Summit, for those that attend, they get an unbelievable education in what's going on and what supports are out there. But actually, Sinead, there are a huge number of women that I come across every day that don't actually know they're about to embark on the journey of perimenopause. They don't know what's coming, so they're not prepared. But also there's so many people that are just going through it and don't really know what's happening. And so education is one thing, but you know yourself, if you're hit with something and it's like a bus hits you, and you didn't know it was coming and you didn't see it was coming, and it really hit you at a time where it was important in your lives. And let's face it, most of us in our 40s and 50s are doing significant levels of work, and families are important, and we have a lot of, I suppose, responsibilities. So it does not surprise me one bit that this affects people negatively. But the good news is, I mean, and there is good news out there, is with more and more education, with more and more sort of involvement of clinicians and experts in the space, and women getting involved as well, asking questions. I mean, it's happening. We're all talking about it. Absolutely. We're asking questions. We're supporting each other. We're helping each other. I think the 5 years from now, 10 years from now, our daughter's time, it will be a different, that statistic will be different. So I'd think maybe go out and do a survey again in 15 years and see the answer will change, I'd say.
No, absolutely, I agree. And I'll just take the opportunity there, just in terms of education and spreading fact-based information, to just make a little comment here to everyone. Please be sure to subscribe to the National Menopause Summit YouTube channel, because obviously Tanya is one of the many amazing people that we're speaking to. And we are on a mission to be, if you like, the home of fact-based information on perimenopause and menopause online. So I know people say this on the internet. Am I an influencer? No, I'm not. But join the gang, join the community, as they all say. And we'll be regularly posting information here. So if you can't make it to the summit, at least you can gain some really great learnings here on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, so totally agree.
Yeah, exactly. So before we went live there, Tanya, you and I were chatting in relation to, and I'm going to let you share this information, this fact that blew my mind some time ago when I was doing a bit of research. So females, clinical trials, health research. How long has the human race been doing research into females from a healthcare and clinical trial perspective?
Well, I suppose we did do research into females, but then there were quite a few issues that came out in clinical trials that prevented that. There were issues with, you know, we've all heard there's case thalidomide, so pregnant women on clinical trials where there were negative outcomes. So the FDA decided, rather than put individuals at risk, which was important, that they would exclude women of childbearing age from clinical trials, right? And so that excluded everybody up to the age of about, let's just say 40, 45 from clinical trials, but it meant that nobody really included women in clinical trials. And what's really important about that is, one, all the data we have on how drugs impact us, how medication impacts us, even just getting funding for research, women were excluded, which meant that the data we have is on predominantly the average male. So
Right.
that the male is what most of the research has been done on. And the assumption was that you could extrapolate the male to the female, but you and I know that we're very different.
Indeed.
So hormones hugely impact how women function in life, how their health outcomes are. And so without women included in those studies, we have a really big gap in knowledge.
Yes.
And that has really impacted us now, but it's thankfully changing. And 30 years, last year was the 30-year anniversary since women were allowed back into clinical trials. And I think, you know, that's taken a little bit of time for women to be involved and the data to come out, but it's hugely important. And it kind of leads me to another point that I always harp on about, which is women need to put themselves forward for these studies. Not always a clinical trial, but if there's research going on in a university, or there's a survey happening somewhere, or something to do with women, you need to put yourself forward, because that data is going to be really important.
And you're obviously contributing to the greater good in that regard,
Yeah.
Tanya. Yeah, absolutely.
And like a lot of people would say that, oh gosh, I shouldn't be putting my data forward, but you can say anonymized data or pseudo-anonymized data, and that just feeds into the big pool of data we have on women that will impact our health.
Yeah.
But you know, the impact of not having women be involved in research is that most of the products you see out there are designed for men.
Yes.
And I mean, you've heard me before, I talk about the mammogram and poor old women having to stick their every size breasts available into the 2 plates that squish together and you take the image. It's really important to do it.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure that it was designed by a man and they didn't test it properly.
Pretty sure that and all of the rest of the wonderful examinations that we have to have as females. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, indeed. Certainly not designed by a woman, I would wager.
Yeah.
So all of this nicely leads me into, and sort of, I suppose, explains, but if you could go into a little bit more detail in terms of your motivation as the founder of Femtech. So give us a sense of that journey for you.
Yeah, I suppose my day-to-day job is Director of Health Innovation of Ireland. So we're looking for innovations across the healthcare space. But just I'd say towards the end of COVID, we started to see a lot of people coming into us with innovations focused on women.
Yes.
And I was really excited about this because suddenly I was saying, these are things that apply to me. But also, all of a sudden, we have women coming forward with solutions that are for their own problems. And that's so important, because if you identify a problem and you come up with a potential solution, it's usually a good one.
Yes.
So I was really excited about this, and I couldn't believe how many Irish women actually were coming in with really good ideas. And I have to say, female founders of innovations are really the best. Like, they have put so much effort and thought into it. And I think we're quite careful about putting our ideas out there until they're well developed.
Indeed.
So we decided we were going to put it, I did a little bit of research on what's going on in Ireland. We saw quite a few people in the early stage spaces, but not a lot of support for them. So what we did is we set up Femtech Ireland with a view to bringing in those supports. Early stage idea, if you've got a product in development, maybe giving access to women as patients or end users, giving their feedback on it. Is it painful? Would I like to do this? Would I not like to do that?
Yeah, indeed.
And also really important is getting clinicians involved, because actually they really do need to see if they would use the product themselves, how they could use it with their patients.
Yes.
And then the research, we have to get the research done. So I was lucky that I work in a university. We're linked into hospitals and clinicians. We had access to all these great innovators. Enterprise Ireland funds us as well, so we're able to give some funding supports through that route.
Brilliant.
And I have to tell you, we're now, in terms of Femtech, which for those that don't know, it's really the development of technology and solutions aimed at women for conditions or anything that they experience in health that sort of affects them and doesn't affect men in the same way.
Gotcha.
So, you know, think of the women's lives from the day they're born to the day they die, almost everything is different.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. And it's interesting what you said in relation to female founders coming forward based on their own personal experience. And as you know, Tanya, and I think everybody who knows me at this point knows that the whole establishment and inspiration behind the National Menopause Summit was absolutely and utterly based
Personally
on,
driven, yeah.
yeah, totally time in the trenches with really, really challenging and upsetting, it has to be said, menopause symptoms. But again, if we weren't going through these particular experiences, then we wouldn't be as inspired or motivated or have that fire in the belly to make changes. So it's
absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. And from a global perspective, Tanya, what's the situation with femtech?
Yeah, so if you even just go out there and sort of have a little look around, there's an awful lot happening in the space, which is brilliant. We recently joined an international group called Femtech Across Borders, and the intention there is to really get this agenda up in front of the politicians, in front of the World Health Organization, in front of different kind of international events. But I see a lot, like we're moving away from what I call them sort of simple solutions to kind of much more what in our world we call deep tech, which is research based.
In my world, I called Star Trek.
Yeah, well, it's that blue sky is amazing. So if you, I just see some of the things coming down the track, and I just think, I keep saying it, 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to be in a very different space in terms of healthcare. So we're going to be in control. We're going to have a lot of information.
Absolutely, but it's incredible, even Tanya, like, and again, I'm speaking as, if you like, the average woman on the street. You can see the speed at which, or it seems perceived, I'm perceiving it, that all of a sudden we've kind of gone from zero to hero, and we're moving at another Star Trek reference. Who's a fan
Warp
here?
Speed.
Warp speed. We're going from this to this. It's like, oh my God, this is absolutely incredible. It's so positive, fabulous.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I suppose not every solution works for everyone as well. So I mean,
of course.
And you'll be covering that in the summit because, for some people, hormones works and it's fantastic. And I love my hormones. I'll put my hands up and say that.
Thank God I can take them.
For some people, they're just not, they can't take them, or they don't want to take them. But then there are things that are coming down the track in terms of looking at lifestyle factors. So like, can you just imagine, this is me, this is my holy grail, that is in the future, I'll be wearing some sort of a wearable device. And it is basically going to tell me, Tanya, you didn't have enough of water today, or, last time you felt like this, because I can tell you now, I'm tracking how you're feeling. Last time you were sluggish and didn't have you weren't that interested in whatever. You went for a run, and when you came back from the run, your mood changed straight away. Now, I mean, that's the kind of way I see down the line, we're going to have our hormone levels are going to be monitored continuously. We're going to have all these factors fed into a device that's basically going to say, this is what you need as an individual. Your story and your journey means that you need to be exercising more, or, your supplement levels are down. So
there might be a lot of people who won't want to wear one of those devices.
There are people that won't want to wear those, and then there will be.
But I know,
But we're going to be in a situation where you will have lots of different options to choose from, and we will have so much information about our own personal, the way things are happening to us personally, that you can make those informed decisions. Whereas we're still a little bit in the dark, we're doing things and hoping that it's going to work for us, and for the most part they do, but it doesn't work for everybody. So I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the things coming down, like the rings that you're able to wear now. There's a ring that was developed. It's a US company, but they have an R&D facility in Cork, and instead of tracking your symptoms in the man's context, it's tracking them in a woman's context in terms of your oxygen levels, your blood pressure, your heart rate, things like that.
Incredible. It's incredible stuff.
And it's giving you information back for you as the woman, not as the general average man.
Yes.
So like there's so much happening, and it's really exciting, I have to say. Yeah, it's brilliant.
And in terms of some of the projects that you would be supporting and funding at the moment, Tanya, what is particularly sort of whetting your appetite in this regard? What fabulous stuff is coming down?
I suppose if you look at, I mean, there's two sides of it. There's what's impacting the everyday woman. So I think you've spoken to Heidi Davis before, who was at the summit last year. They've developed a wearable that you'll wear, and it will track your symptoms. So it'll track things like hot flushes and night sweats. Okay, and sometimes people don't even know they're having these. They know they aren't sleeping, but they're not sure why. So at least this will give them, evidence that they can go into their GP and say, look, I am having 10 hot flushes during a day and not sleeping at nighttime, waking up twice, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But it will track other things as they develop it further. But there are others. We're working with a company called Avita Medical, and
Okay.
they're developing a non-hormonal device for vaginal atrophy.
Oh,
And
right.
so not
Interesting.
everybody will use hormones or want to use hormones. So this is
Yeah.
a device that's used, and it will stimulate the cells to regenerate. And really important for a lot of women, as you know, and I think Quiva talked about it, vaginal atrophy is a big impact on
Big
women's health.
issue. Yeah, a big issue for people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working with a wonderful actually she's a final year med student. It just shows what people can do, and she's really interested in looking at sexual health of women
Mm.
across the different stages of life, particularly if they've had gone into early menopause due to cancer treatment, chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Sexual health is so important, and what she found is that when women go into their consultants after having treatment, that they're never asked how's it going. That's not the factor,
Uh,
and
yeah, it's
has to
shocking.
be asked.
I
So
was speaking to another speaker on one of our menopause supports chapters the other day, and she had a friend who was thrust into early menopause due to uh, a cancer diagnosis. They can't remember exactly
yeah,
why, but they literally, in the hospital, she had her womb removed, she had her ovaries removed, and they sent her home,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
told her nothing. They
yeah,
sent her home, and this poor woman, who was not at a time in her life where naturally she would go into menopause, was
yeah.
just thrust into menopause with absolutely no advice. Just by
Yeah.
now, I mean,
And
it's
and
shocking.
and you combine sort of the symptoms that we all know about to not having any libido or not
Yeah,
wanting to have, so there's so many issues there that need to be addressed. So like we're only tipping scratching the surface of the
yes,
iceberg at the moment. I think there's a lot to come. We're doing another really interesting study with a fabulous lady, Rochelle Flanagan, who was diagnosed with early Parkinson's. So it's
right.
early onset Parkinson's after the birth of her first daughter. What she found was that her medication didn't work the same at certain times of her cycle due to the
Right.
hormones. And so now we're moving that into menopausal women who have Parkinson's. So if you have Parkinson's and you're on a medication treatment, again, it's this difference between men and women
Mm.
and are fairly steady in terms of their hormone levels. You can give them a dose of a treatment, and if it works, it's probably going to work all the time. With
Yes.
women, if you give them the dose of the treatment, it'll work for some stages, but when your hormones start
Yeah,
changing,
yeah,
it's
makes
going to work
sense.
differently.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
so what she's doing is looking at the impact of your hormones versus your medication treatment and how you're going to actually your quality of life on your medication treatment. So
Mm.
important, and it works across the board. There's so many things that where your hormones have an impact. Like as we get older, obviously our bone health is compromised if we're
Mm.
not replacing the hormones. We get heart disease differently to men suffer heart attacks.
Mm.
We, like women, suffer from Alzheimer's and dementia, and it is all that decline all happens around the stage where our hormones in menopause are going into decline.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
So knowing what's coming down the track at that stage is going to be so important. So all the information you're gathering in your menopause summit, all the information that's happening in the research that's going on, and even just asking the basic questions. When women come and ask the basic questions,
Mm.
it starts the conversation. So it's really important to do
Absolutely.
this.
Yeah, no. I mean, it is. I mean, education, as you say, Tanya, is hugely important. And on a broader scale, if you like, the National Menopause Summit it was set up, as you know, by myself as an educational platform.
Yeah,
And I'm always saying this to people, of course, we have midlife women there, but it's not an event designed exclusively for midlife women, because menopause obviously touches everybody
yeah,
effectively. Directly the people involved, i.e. the women, but also indirectly work and relationships and all of
everything,
that good stuff.
everything.
Every
Yeah,
day, everything.
yeah,
So that's hugely important. Tanya, if someone had a wonderful idea
yeah.
um, and was developing, some kind of solution around femtech, how do they engage with your organization? How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really easy. The easiest thing to do is just Google Femtech Ireland comes to
Mm.
our Femtech page, and you can
Yeah.
join the network, and that's just keeping people informed of what's going on in the space. But if you really have an idea and you want some support, I would say people can reach out to me any way they can find me. So Google me and you'll find me. But
Yes.
also we have what's called an innovation portal. Sounds very Star Trekky as well.
Yeah.
And we ask a few simple questions, and then our team will review it, and we'll come back and offer as much support as you can. We are looking at the moment in trying to set up some sort of co-shared desk space that people can use as well. So
Nice. Yeah.
bringing people together to share their ideas is going to be really important as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I mean, for me, if someone has an idea, it doesn't matter how harebrained it is, there'll be something in it because there's a reason why they came up with the idea. And so we will help as much as possible. If it can be developed, we'll help as much as we can.
That's brilliant. And I see that one of our wonderful speakers, the lovely and wonderful Loretta, Loretta Dignam, and her app was, you guys, did you, what's the word I'm looking for? Collaborate with her or support her in terms of that? Yeah.
So we worked with the company that's working with her to develop the app a long time ago for other things.
Yes.
So, and this is how we work. Loretta came in and said, would you know anyone that might be able to develop an app?
Yeah.
I said, talk to these guys. Off they go. Now they've got a fantastic app.
Yeah.
But actually just before Christmas, we put out a call for innovations in the women's health space.
Yeah.
And she was one of the winners of that. So now we're going to support her to trial and test that in women across the country. So, and there were 11 other winners of that call. We have everything from, as I said there, it's the device for vaginal atrophy to continuous monitoring of hormones devices. So everything across the range. And I just think Ireland is doing a lot in this space, and we're really doing well on the international stage. And my other big goal, and if there's anyone in the government listening or in the funding agencies, I would like the Irish government to put a chunk of money towards research in women's health and innovation in women's health, and really get us, you said it yourself, it's happening really quickly.
Yes, indeed.
And we are part of it, but I would love us to be seen as leaders in this space.
Yeah, and do you know what, Tanya, if anyone from the government is listening, I'll second that, because to be fair to the Irish government, we're the only country in the world that did a national menopause awareness campaign at government level. Yeah. So, I mean, we have established ourselves as ahead of the game in that regard. So it would be wonderful to see how committed we could be and how we could position ourselves in that regard. And again, without getting into the whole business case for that, but that's wonderful news for Ireland Inc. as well. If we got that across the line.
And I have to say, I'm very proud when I go to these international events, and I'm able to say things like, we have free contraception. Yes. We have specialist menopause clinics in our country. A lot of places don't have it.
Yeah.
We also now have the fertilities. We're in the fertility space for public health. We did the Department of Health did the Women's Health Task Force.
Yeah.
Actually, we're doing really well in that space. We just need to keep the momentum going, and a little bit more funding in that space, and we'll be fabulous.
No, absolutely. But just to give you a little bit of information that I'm not sure I mentioned to you before, Tanya, I may have. But and this blew my mind just in terms of the whole menopause education piece. After the inaugural summit in the round room, and you and I had met at that point, so that's the only reason femtech wasn't involved. As soon as I came across femtech, I went, "Oh my God, that has to be it." And obviously, you're down in UCC, and all that. So that was absolute. That worked wonderfully. But basically, yes, what was I going to say? This is menopause brain for you. At the inaugural summit last year, what I said, hi everyone, here you go. I can't remember what I was going to say, and I can't remember, but it'll come back to me in a second.
Yeah, you can tell me at the next, when we meet at the summit, you can tell me.
Exactly. I know now. There we go. This is how it works, guys. This is how it works, right? So after the inaugural summit in Dublin, I was here, and it was about a week after it. I couldn't believe this, Tanya. Now, we do a huge amount of work, as you know, in terms of marketing the summit. And we do that at a national level with obviously all of the local media, and we also do a huge amount of work on social media. I got 2 emails from GPs in Queensland. I got an email from a GP in the Bronx and an email from a GP in Long Island, right? I couldn't actually believe this. Generally, this is what everybody was saying. I've come across your summit online. This is incredible. And particularly the GP down in Australia said, we are in the dark ages here. They were the words that she used. I mean, it's just phenomenal, isn't it?
But actually, I worked in the States for about 10 years, and I have a lot of friends still over there, and they would say that we are way ahead here in terms of education, in terms of information. in terms of supports we're providing. And look, the summit has really done a lot to do that. So
Yes.
I got feedback from people last year after the Cork one saying they knew a bit, but everything was covered. So they were able, whatever their little niche question was, their little problem was, it was covered on the day, which really helped them.
Yes.
And I think the other thing was we had so many people at the table that kind of were all in that kind of, and everyone got talking. And so the questions we addressed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what I really wanted to do when we were designing the summit. It's a round table event. And I think that's really important because this isn't, you know, a summit on corporate restructuring. Do you know what I mean? People, I have run those in the past, many, many years ago.
They're just as much fun.
Not even remotely as much fun. But again, you're so rarely in an environment as a delegate, or I would suspect even as a speaker, where 600 plus people want to talk about menopause. And again, without blowing my own trumpet here, Tanya, but sure, I'll take the opportunity to do it
anyway. Yeah.
All joking aside, I did want to establish this as a masterclass in menopause, that when people left our summit, that they were armed with all of the fact-based information, whether it was through the workplace piece or, forgot to put my phone on silent there, there's live TV for you, not quite, or from a clinical perspective, that people would have all the facts that they would need to arm them to make informed decisions around their menopause. That was hugely important. Yeah, absolutely. So go us, Tanya.
Yeah, you did it. It was brilliant. Yeah.
Well, you too. When I say us, I mean all of us. My fabulous colleague, Shell, who puts the event together with me. But anyway, Tanya, look, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I think it's really, really important that everybody is aware of all of that work that's being done, and that we're celebrating our 30-year birthday.
Yeah, that's it. Very important.
As a gender.
Yeah.
Of being involved in clinical trials and all that good stuff. I think that's really important. And I think what that does is that can frame a lot of stuff for people in their mind, just in their own experience in terms of their interactions with the medical community and all of these sort of uncomfortable, that euphemism, uncomfortable examinations that we have to have as
exactly
women. So it really frames that.
There are many of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's absolutely super. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
I'm looking forward to it, Sinead.
Yeah, me too. And just to say, for anyone who is interested in booking tickets, as I say, we are rolling out across 2 days, but you don't need a 2-day ticket. We are delivering the same content across both days. So if you pop on to nationalmenopausesummit.com, you'll be able to book your tickets. And we look forward to welcoming Tanya, all our speakers, and obviously all of our delegates to the Aviva Stadium in Dublin in April. So thank you so much for that, guys. Bye, Tanya.